Hi guys, it's Vesna here. Welcome to my channel. Today's episode is a part of my Dollar Tree DIY series. So let's get going. So to start, I'm making a tray using this skirt, this hula skirt from the Dollar Tree. So it's like a little grass skirt and a charger plate. So I'm taking apart the skirt. You just have to remove the knots in the waist, and then they all come apart into individual strings, and I'm going to be braiding them by I started off using six individual strings, like six strings you're going to see when I take them off, but six of those packs of strings. And then some of them I did a little bit less, some of them I did a little bit more. So they're all kind of different sizes. I was going to make it all one size, and then I thought some of them could be bigger and some of them could be smaller, might kind of look a little bit better once I'm finished. So when you take off these strings, they're actually tied together, and there are about 3 strings in each strand. So I used 6 of these strands to start with my first braid. And I just used a little bit of tape, and I taped it to the top of my table, made a knot at the top to put them all together. Then I taped the knot at the top to my desk so I could easier braid them. I'll show you now so you can see what I did. So I just want to show you here that when you finish braiding your strings, then you want to tie a knot at the end. So you'll have a knot at each end, and then you want to put them together and just cut off any of the excess pieces so that just you're left with a knot. So just be careful not to cut the knot. Now, before I move on, I do want to mention that I used 1.5 skirts. So if you buy 2 skirts, it'll be more than enough if you're using these charger plates from the Dollar Tree. If you're using something smaller, you could probably get away with just 1. Now you do want to leave several strings. So I left like 18 altogether so that I could make the handles because I wanted those to be a little bit thicker. And when you're putting these together and doing the knot at the top, what I did was I actually got rid of the little knots that they came with so that they would be loose, because it just made it a little bit easier to tie. And then I started my braid. So I did want to show you over here, I made a little bit of a tighter braid and smaller and tighter braid. So you can make them as tight or as loose as you want. I didn't make them super, super tight. The smaller ones are a little bit tighter because they are smaller, but you don't want to make them super tight or super loose, because either way then they won't look right when you put them on. And when you do start gluing them, you want to start in the middle, and then you just kind of do circles until you use up all of them. But you want to make sure you're putting them down flat, not standing up, so they glue on flat. So I just did little bits at a time. It did take me some time to do it, but they turned out looking really, really nice. So I'm super happy with the way they turned out. And I'll speed it up here a little bit so you can see me doing it, but you don't have to watch it in slow-mo. So here, what I did was I made sure I finished off kind of in the middle for both of them, and then I also added a few more strands just to lift up the sides, just a touch, not too much, but just a little bit. and because I had them left over as well, but you don't have to do this. And then I added the handles, and what I did was I attached the handles to the sides where the two connected, so like the messier sides, and then I glued the flap of the handles up so it looks like the handles are standing up. I also took the strand and I bent it in half, and then I bent it in half again to make it a handle, so it looked like a double strand, but it wasn't a double strand. So I just thought that made it look really nice. And that's all there is to it. A little bit time consuming, but I think it was well worth it. So here it is all finished. First, I wanted to show you how it looks, just the tray on its own, and then I wanted to show you what it looks like with little things on it, so styled. So here it is. I absolutely love the way it turned out. It looks great. And then here it is all styled. Well, let me know what you think of this one. Leave me a comment below and let me know if you liked it. So for this next DIY, all I do is basically add a little bit of decor to this tray and make it look a little bit nicer. So I picked it up at the Dollar Tree. It's just a mini raised wooden tray, and I added some dark antiquing wax to the sides to make it a little bit darker, to give it like a stained effect. And then I also added some of this peel and stick vinyl, which I picked up at the dollar store too. I measured it out and I just glued it to the tray itself, and that's all there is to it, and I think it turned out really, really cute. And that's all there is to it. Super duper easy, inexpensive, and I still have paper left over if I wanted to use it for something else. And I just think it elevated this tray to look a little bit more elegant, a little bit more expensive, and just super duper cute for, you know, you could put your jewelry in there. You could just put little decorative pieces, maybe in a bathroom or something like that for some soap. But I think it turned out really cute. Let me know what you think of this one. So if you thought that DIY was easy, well, this one's even easier. I'm even ashamed to call it a DIY. All I did was add legs to this little wooden pallet here that I picked up at, I think this one I picked up at Dollarama, but they have it at the Dollar Tree too. And then I had these little pegs from the Dollar Tree as well that I added as my base, but before I added them, I did go ahead and stain them a little bit with that same brown paint so that they looked a little bit darker and matched the palette a little bit more. So once I finished that, I just used some hot glue and I glued them to the bottom, making sure that I glued them in the same spot. You could use a ruler, but if you didn't want to, you can just eyeball it like I did. And again, that's all there is to it. Okay, and here it is all finished. Again, a great little addition to any tray so it can raise some of your decor items. I just wanted to show you with a little candle, and I think it turned out really cute, but again, it's like a super duper easy thing, but it just makes this more like a table rather than just a piece of wood. And then for the final DIY, another easy one. So I have this little metal sign from the Dollar Tree, and what I'm doing is removing the rope so that it's not a hanging sign anymore. And I'm going to use some vinegar and a paper towel to age this metal, because although I like the shininess, I did want it to look a little bit more rustic and a little bit more aged. So what I did was I just soaked a paper towel in vinegar and I put it on top and I left it for several hours, and this is what it turned out like. Now I did have these holes that I was contemplating how I would cover, and then I figured once I added the legs, it would cover the holes no problem. Because of the hot glue, and all I had to do was just add a little bit of paint so that it would match the color of the metal. And so same thing as with the other ones, I added some legs to it. Now I did find these, I think they're snowmen at the Dollar Tree. At some point I bought them. So I'm going to use them. I'm just going to paint them a silver color, just using some silver acrylic paint. And I will be kind of dry brushing it on, so not like caking on the paint, but very lightly brushing them with the paint. So as I said, just very lightly brushing them. And what I did was I put a little bit of paint on just a piece of cardboard, and then I dabbed it off, and then I added it to these snowmen. And I let them to dry, and then when they dried, I used a little bit of that paint also on the metal piece, but when they dried, I attached them to the metal piece, and then I painted over top of the little holes just so that they would kind of match the rest of the metal. I did have to sand down a little bit of the glue as well, but this was really easy to do, and it looked really, really nice. It looks really, really nice. I did add a little bit of that brown antiquing wax from Bear as well, just to give it a little bit of a rustier look. But again, that's all there was to it. So once they were all covered and dried and everything, I added a little bit of hot glue and I attached them to the tray. Now again, I didn't measure, I eyeballed it, but you do however you feel most comfortable. I just wanted to make sure those holes were covered with the legs, and then as I said, I painted over top and I covered it. So I think I did a pretty good job so that you don't see too much of a difference, but let me know what you guys think. So here it is, all finished. I think he turned out great. And I love that it looks kind of aged, like it's been around for a super long time, even though it was brand new. Here's what the legs look like. I think they match pretty well. So again, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of all of these. I hope you like them. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you can see more of my videos. Thanks for stopping by. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic day and stay safe.